in the dialogue, and most importantly to the third session. And my sincere congratulations to Mr. Mulabian for doing such a wonderful job with his team, always bringing the brightest in the region and giving them and us to speak and listen and creating this intellectual discussion, which is literally a missing channel and link within our work. I must say that this year's discussion on Afghanistan and Central Asia dialogue is very timely. And I say that because we have, when I say we, meaning the Central Asia countries and Afghanistan and South Asia as well, our shared interests and shared challenges as well. So let me start first with just quickly sharing the shared challenges, the rise of terrorism, which we all know, and the rise of insecurity is one of our greatest challenges. But we have to also highlight the shared opportunities as well. And of course, I do come from the Afghan government, so I'm going to highlight the Afghan government's position, which means that we have extended our hands to our great friends and partners, trying to make sure that the regional cooperation aspect of our relationship, which has been missing for quite a while, we would like to expand on that and strengthen. So because of that, it's a greater opportunity and a great time for all of us to witness that we have come forward. And most importantly, I think the security challenges is not anymore just a theme, it's a reality, we all live in it. Today, either we call it the blessing of the 21st century or the curse of the 21st century. It's very obvious and very clear that we live in an era and we live in a world today that our growth is also shared by each one of us, and also our challenges, meaning that the time when building huge walls around the borders, it does not exist anymore and it doesn't make any sense. And the globalization phenomenon is something that we are facing, and especially for the younger generation, for us, I think we have to utilize it. So with that opening remarks, I would like to open the discussion and the floor to our greatest panelists. I'm honored and humbled to be among them. And let me start the way we have tried to arrange and the panel, in a sense, was going based on the alphabetical orders and the last name. So let me start first with welcoming Dr. Vladimir Boyko, and he is the director of Russia's Asiatic Analytical Center. And he has done a lot of research on Afghanistan and Central Asia, and that's the main reason we have him today in the panel. So let me start first welcoming him and opening the floor for discussion and his presentation. Thank you.
Thanks to hospitality of and cooperation, Dr. Murayan's Institute of Afghanistan Studies. Actually, nowadays the best think tank, I think, in the field, because he's marching on two tracks, track 1 and track 2. And today, appearance and participation of Governor Murayan and High Executive is the best evidence of this. As for my topic, actually, I'm not going to cover all details or aspects of Russia's position towards Afghanistan, but actually it will be from two angles. One is official position of Moscow-based government and some agencies and so on. Another is angel to cover things and developments from the point of person who lives in Asian part of Russia, from the field, from grassroots actually, because we are actually the main target of the Afghan country. And these two angles I try to follow my presentation. First of all, I should emphasize that Russia is represented here on two panels. Because panel is Central Asian, because Russia, by identity, is Central Asian country as well, not because of some imperial circumstances or things and so on, but actually some part of Russia is located immediately in Central Asian tier, not in tier. Because by identity, by historically and geopolitically and many other aspects, Russia is Central Asian country. Maybe it's sounds very ambitious, but nonetheless it's true actually. And what is actually centralism? Centralism is not some journalistic approach which taking into account the 5 countries. Centralism, it was identified by my late guru, Professor Richard Fry, our professor, who meant under Central Asia all areas which are in between many other Asias, like South Asia, North Asia, West Asia, and so forth. Sorry. It just reminds some things. Since the Union breakdown, Russia has been the second-tier neighbor of Afghanistan. What is happened? Before we had together joined maybe about 2,000 kilometers. Right now, a second-tier neighbor. Connected with it historically, geopolitically, and many other respects. In this line, some political and moral obligations, the excitement of smoldering conflict between them downstream and the opposition, as well as further invasion, which provoked series of coup d'etat and extreme extensive foreign interference, either Soviet or Western or other countries. So when most conservative and economic movements lost state power in 2001 with the start of the United States-led international military campaign, Russia also took this side that followed but all her very selective attitude and growth, partly to a detached relation to new allies, but primarily because of some different in assessment and coverage of Afghanistan, domestic and international alignment. Actually, it's very important because in every country, in every place, we have different traditions of scholarship or expertise on Afghanistan. This is one of the confusions which happened during all this time, historically and currently. I think it's very serious because it's the idea of this conference to change ideas and to searching for joint approach, to common ground actually. By now, this politics is going to be more distinctive conceptually or by implementation. About 1.5 decades of 21st century or so, it was considered by many outside observers as a kind of waiting game, close to its underlying logic, which, according to Russia's scientific stand of economics, political development, and low-level international reputation. By the middle of 2010 and afterwards, Russia is pursuing more comprehensive, although controversial, politics towards Afghanistan and Afghanistan as well. The bilateral relations are featured as a previous partnership, maybe as a honeymoon period for time in history. This process of strategic partnership is this, which was concluded by the United States, UK, and so on. It's more relevant. Sorry, excuse me, thank you very much. Immediate to my mouth. Thank you. It's more relevant to military technical training cadres operation, whereas geopolitically Afghanistan is under heavy American Western patronage and control right now. Meanwhile, within the last recent years, there were some evidences of Russians increasing role in Afghanistan, domestic and external affairs, including multilateral and diplomatic initiatives, Moscow conferences, references to Taliban as one of legal participants of political process, or reconciliation process, and so on. By the end of 2010, Russia is more active in international scene, including Afghanistan case, despite running north of Western sanctions, shortcomings of domestic economy and political tensions in the eve of new electoral cycle. This takes price the growing mastery of Russian diplomacy based on very rich tradition of dealing with independent Afghanistan the past 1 century, since 1919 and still nowadays. And growing lessons from failures in this extraordinary country and nation, as well in the situation of controversial complexities within Western world, which heavily miscalculated its triumphs in Afghanistan and elsewhere after the Cold War, and overestimated the power of technological priority. European migration and refugee crisis, divisions within Western alliances and elites, limits of national international expertise, I mentioned this, to solve Afghanistan problem and crisis. All these factors are providing some space, a role for Russia as well. Not in conspiracy avenues, but rather in cooperative tracks. It doesn't mean that Russia leadership in this complicated deal with possible engagement, entanglement in Syria like Afghan conflict, or formal participation in Istanbul process with restrictions of Russian because of her current state, because of sanctions. But Russian leading role and Russian leaders should be considered and accepted in more broader frames in context of new political situation. Refreshment of extension of SCO, dynamics of Russian-Turkish relationship, impediments of opportunities of Russia, United States, understanding and so on and so forth. But under all these circumstances, the Russian role should be conceptualized and implemented in far more comprehensive manner, not only on top Moscow, Kabul level, but also with the relevance of geography, culture, and common northern Afghanistan, for instance, Tajik and Turkic, Central Asia, Kazakhstan, Russian, Altai, Xinjiang, People Republic, as most threatened areas, roads of Afghanistan, narcotics, illegal migration, smuggling, and so on and so forth. But at the same time, these borders may play as a gates for development, thanks to the transit location, infrastructure, priorities, and so on and so forth. These are borderlands from Khyber, Pakhtunkhwa, Russian Altai, performed as one of the most main roads and issues of venues of Russian-Afghan cooperation and communication organization projects, like a war of China and so on and so forth. As for current state of Russian politics, some other new initiatives, I should mention first of all those which are right with the extension of SCO. And first of all, I should mention the opportunities which are right with Russia-China for the approachment. The most recent initiative is the re-establishment of SCO Afghanistan group, which was terminated in 2009, as far as I remember, yeah. It was established in 2004, and then terminated within several years. What means this new initiative? It means that the multilateral framework of network of SCO will be more used for Afghanistan settlement, in terms of, not only in terms of security or extreme, but also in economic terms as well. Because Russia actually would offer some opportunities for bilateral cooperation as well. It's the second track actually of our cooperation within SCO framework and on bilateral level. This means to develop some tourist roads, to develop cooperation in education, field and so on. If before, for instance, Afghan side, some other our partners were worried that Russia will indoctrinate Afghan students, but now it's no ground for such worry, because it's clear even in 90s and 80s, no single person was indoctrinated in the community, for instance. It's strange, but some people follow the traditional adherences like for Taliban or for Western Northern Alliance also. It's no danger to come to Russia for study, for research, for fellowship, for example, for jobs and so on. The Russia is more open countries, liberal-minded countries also was. As was often mentioned, Russia-Taiwan Russia-Taliban connection. What means in fact? Always estimated. Maybe you remember that the first office for Taliban, an official way, was opened in Moscow in 1996. It was not allowed by government or what is this. In 2000, for instance, 2000, American congressmen traveled to Afghanistan on a regular, not on daily basis, but regular basis for promoting some peaceful things. For instance, his jirga was prepared to be held in 2000, but it was failed after all in 1911 or this. And since this, our Western alliance and partners actually dealt with Taliban very often, actually. I just can recall these 4 sites conferences and so on. So Russia means just to be in contact, not more, for instance. That means that to support Taliban in military terms and some other terms, economic terms, and so on, it's not part of this. Taliban actually out of, it's prohibited in Russia even to mention this. But in fact, in information, in contact means it is our, not partners, it's subject of our operation, Russian operation. And one more thing about opportunities. I mentioned this, education, so on and so forth. And I should add that some other Soviet experience should be also endorsed, because, for instance, in Russia, in 1980, there was a tradition to distribute Afghan territory between Russian areas of operation, including some agreements, peace agreements, and so forth. It should be removed, re-established as well. Because fellowship, some other things, some means of operation should be on demand after all, because Russia is suffering from the lack of use in our universities are not empty, but nevertheless it's a lack of students over there. We can offer some good opportunities for study, for some social security and so on. Not maybe in comparison with Europe or United States comparable, but nevertheless we have some things on our offer. And it's actually not the last one, it's actually in terms of research actually. I'm implementing now a research project about modernization of Afghanistan for the last 100 years. It was a 3-year project, and it will be finished this year. We'll publish one more, because I'm very enthusiastic about some future. Because during the last century there was some successful and unsuccessful efforts to modernize country, but there are some evidence, source evidence, documented evidence. When some very successful country in the early 20th century, in 30s, 40s, and some other periods of time. It should be returned to this very useful here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Prasad. So now we have Ms. Bushra Gauhar, and her name is very well known to all of us, especially I think to women in this region. She is the Vice President of Pakistan's Awami National Party, and she is a woman activist, and it is her second time, at least in the last few months, to be in Afghanistan. So welcome, thank you.
I'd like to join our moderator, the Honorable Adela, in congratulating the Afghanistan Institute of Strategic Studies for a good start to the 4th Afghanistan-Central Asia Dialogue, the Bamiyan Conference. At least the environment is bright for a peace conference or a dialogue. However, I'm not too sure about the environment in this room, because if we're going to have a dialogue, these doubts and the impediments are making it very difficult for all of us to actually interact with one another. So probably when we hold dialogues, it is better if we can see each other and then we can speak, and rather than speak at each other. I would also like to thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity to present my brief observations. And I'd like to clarify that these are my own observations that I will be sharing with you. We've had very important panel or sessions, 3 sessions in the morning, since the morning, and the complexities and competing interests and objectives of key external players have been adequately articulated by the different speakers. So we don't have to really go into mapping what are the objectives of each player, who are the players we all know, who are the key international players, who are the key regional players, and who are the key neighbors, and how they influence, what are their interests. That kind of thing has already been talked about, and from the 3 sessions that we've had with Dr. Abdullah setting the stage for our dialogue, it is very clear that we're dealing with a very complex situation. There are complex interests and objectives that Afghanistan is dealing with, or those who would like to see peace in the region. Afghanistan, as we all know, has been pushed from one cycle of conflict into another because of the conflicting and competing interests of the global, regional, and immediate neighbors. Powers, global, regional powers. From the British imperialists using it as a buffer to the Cold War polarization challenges and to the post-Cold War challenges, Afghanistan and her people have remained in the eye of the storm. Most of its wars are not her own created, but Afghanistan and her people have had to pay a heavy price for the interests, external interests, in all the wars that have been brought to Afghanistan. Afghanistan, however, has shown great resilience, resistance. It has been fighting and defeating the Taliban on a daily basis, with minimum capacities. The point I would like to stress here is that Afghanistan has suffered more at the hands of the external players, who all claim to be friends and support an Afghanistan-led and owned peace process. These claims are negated when we analyze the current situations. The second point is Afghanistan's external allies, international regional players, and immediate neighbors' relationships with Afghanistan are defined and determined by their relationships with others. And so it isn't really a relationship with Afghanistan that they're trying to build, but it is their relationships with others who also have interests in Afghanistan that defines and determines the way, the direction they take in Afghanistan and in the peace process. I'll give you an example. I'm from Pakistan, and what we keep saying is that our relationship in Afghanistan should not be determined by our relationship with another neighbor, India. It should be the relationship building directly with Afghanistan. So this is something that we see with all the players that are in Afghanistan. This makes it very challenging to evolve a bilateral, meaningful relations with the state and government of Afghanistan. It also poses a challenge to evolving an international and regional consensus on important peace and security interests. The situation has been worsened by the ongoing proxy war cycles. I mean, we've had proxy war cycles, or the so-called great games, or should we say double games. Using proxies as foreign and defense policy leverage has created huge trust gaps between the key external players. The levels of interest, power, influence of external players have varied from time to time. There was a huge interest during the period of Assad, and then the US left, abandoned. All this, the influences have varied, the interests have varied over a period of time. And none of the, in my opinion, and I'm giving my opinion here, none of these key players have really thought of or have been sensitive to Afghanistan's perspectives and challenges. In fact, in my opinion, most have actually pushed their own interests. And so the Afghan-led, Afghan-owned has proved to be their rhetoric. Now this morning, Amrullah Saleh highlighted his views on the 5 points Pakistan would like as goal for negotiations. I thought it was very interesting. We need to do that kind of mapping for each player and see what their perspectives are. The 5 points raised seemed very one-sided. So, and did not have much to do with what Afghanistan would think about it. So we need to actually be mapping such points for each player to find out what are their perspectives that they bring to the peace table. Similarly, we can do an analysis of all, like I said, why is Moscow now leading the Central Asian debates and discussions? What are the interests? Are these really just the apprehensions that there could be a spillover of insecurity into Central Asia, and that is why there's more interest by Central Asian countries now? We need to clarify all these perspectives. There's a need for serious introspection by the key stakeholders in peace and review the flawed, unequal, imbalanced terms of engagements. And that is why I think we need to be very clear that when we say that Taliban have to come to the peace process, what do we mean by it? Why do we consider Taliban or all the other shades of terrorists as key stakeholders in peace? In my opinion, their stakes are in violence, in conflict. They are proxies, they are tools. So why is everyone trying to give them legitimacy? Why are states giving them legitimacy? The focus, so I feel that we need to find a way of isolating them, dealing with certain mindsets, and I think if Afghanistan is given the opportunity, it will be able to deal with the radicalization and extremism if it defines its own goals for it. The focus on the Taliban and all other sheikhs has to be reduced, in my opinion. Now, I'll also focus on Pakistan because I know since I come from Pakistan also. Pakistan is an important neighbor. And over the years, I think the trust deficit between the two countries, the two states, and the people have grown. Now, if we all believe that a peaceful Afghanistan is in the best interest of the region, then this trust deficit should not have grown. In fact, we should have been able to bridge the trust deficit. But in fact, with all the tracks and with all these dialogues and with all these intergovernmental processes, there's a serious lack of trust. And how can Pakistan play a role in bridging this trust deficit? Because Pakistan has an important role, and Pakistan must play an important role in bridging this trust deficit. Pakistan is the one thing that Pakistan could do, and this is an internal thing, is to take a clear break from its 4 decades-old Afghan policy. It is flawed, it is self-destructive, and unless Pakistan takes a clear break from it, it is very difficult to have a meaningful relationship evolve between Afghanistan and Pakistan. Improving relations will only be possible if Pakistan stops controlling Afghanistan through the Taliban or the proxies or the assets. It is not helping Pakistan any either. You know, it has hurt Afghanistan quite a lot, but it is also not beneficial. So that policy of good, bad Taliban or using Taliban as proxies, there has to be a clear break from that. Pakistan must recognize Afghanistan as a sovereign state and try to build a relationship with the state, government, and people of Afghanistan. That will bridge the gap, and that is what I think will lead this whole region out of this very vicious cycle of conflict that we find ourselves in. We have to shift from a security-centric relationship to a people-centric relationship. I think there are certain forces that benefit from this very narrow security approach to the peace process. And I think that think tanks like the AISS, and I'm very pleased to see that at least Afghanistan has diversified its trade relationships, its economic relationships, and this is the part that we need to do. We need more people-to-people discussions, open discussions, so that we can actually benefit from each other's experiences. In fact, what we are suffering, where I come from, I'm from Pakistan, is not dissimilar to what Afghanistan is going through. And we could actually be reaching out to address some of the concerns. Afghanistan will have to take the lead, not by people just saying that it has to be Afghan-led, Afghan-owned, but actually Afghanistan will have to be the pivot for the peace process, for the development. So these are some of the few opening comments that I'd like to share with you. I think we'll have greater opportunity to actually debate and discuss, but I feel that there's a lot that we need to be undoing, reviewing, introspecting. And many in this room would need to step out of the defined points that we find ourselves in and try to push our limits, because we need to question a lot of things. We can't just continue in this way if we want peace or development in this region. Thank you.
Thank you, Bushra, for highlighting the complexities of our region and, of course, Pakistan's role. So thank you. The next panelist we have is Mr. Sayyid Rasul Musawi. ایشان مشاور ارشد وزارت خارجه جمهوری اسلامی ایران هستند و قبلا من حیث رئیس مرکز مطالعات آسیای مرکزی و کاوکاز در وزارت خارجه جمهوری اسلامی ایران ایفای وظیفه نمودند و همچنین سفیر ایران در تاجیکستان و
Thank you, Madam Chair. With your permission, I want to change the atmosphere by changing to another language, to Farsi language. من با اجازه شما میخوام فضا رو عوض کنم، از زبان فارسی استفاده بکنم. یه خورده هم ورزشی است که این اظهاره، گوشی ها عوض بشود، یه خورده هم چایی هم آوردم البته، یه خورده خستگی شما بیرون برود. یک دیگر از دلایل که ما فارسی حرف بزنم، ما در فارسی میگیم سخنی که از دل برآید لاجرم بر دل نشینم. خب من وقتی فارسی حرف میزنم از دلم حرف میزنم، وقتی بخوام انگلیسی حرف بزنم باید براش فکر کنم. اینه که بهتر از دل حرف بزنم و میتونم بگم دیگه. مطلبی که میخوام عرض کنم 3 تا محور هست با توجه به بحثایی که در اینجا مطرح شد. اینقدر که از آقای مرادیان تعریف کردم و از مؤسسه انستیتوت تشکر کردم برای این برگزاری این جلسه، دیگه من با اجازهتون تشکر نمی‌کنم. این تفرد شده. 3 تا مطلب دارم، خیلی سریع عرض می‌کنم که شما رو خسته نکنم. چون یه سخنران دیگه هم داریم و می‌خونم از وقت برای سوال و پرسش، سوال و جواب استفاده بکنم. یه بحث اینه که ما خیلی درباره مفهوم منطقه صحبت می‌کنیم، ولی منطقه اصلا دیگه معلوم نیست چیه. یک تحول مفهومی در بحث منطقه اتفاق افتاده. الان افغانستان در چه منطقه است؟ در آسیای مرکزیه، در شبه قاره است، در افکاک چیه؟ خب هر کدوم از اینا یک معانی دارن، یک بحثی دارن. امروز افغان به اصطلاح منطقه بیشتر از اینکه یک مفهوم جغرافیایی داشته باشد، یک مفهوم کانستراکت هست، یک مفهوم سازه هست، یک ساخته شده هست. افکاک اصلا در تاریخ وجود نداره، ولی ما می‌بینیم که ساخته میشه و در واقعش سیاست وضع میشه، در واقعش عملیات وضع میشه. ما باید ببینیم که به هر حال در چه منطقه‌ای که تعریف می‌کنیم می‌توانیم حرف بزنیم. این یکی از مسائل مهمی است که درباره اون می‌تونیم صحبت کنیم. یک منطقه‌ای هم که مثلا منطقه عالیمی که آقای مرادیان ساختن با این پرچم‌ها، خب این هم یک منطقه است. ما باید بالاخره منطقه خودمون رو شناسایی کنیم. کجا داریم حرف می‌زنیم؟ مطلب دوم من این هست که اگر در یک مقطعی رقابت‌های ژئوپلیتیکی داشتیم، الان نوعی رقابت‌های ژئواکونومیکی جایگزین رقابت‌های ژئوپلیتیکی شده. به این معنی که همه کشورها، همه قدرت‌های بزرگ یک مجموعه‌ای از طرح‌هایی رو مطرح می‌کنن در اون منطقه‌ای که خودشون در نظر دارن و شروع می‌کنن به اقدامات عملیاتی. به عنوان مثال چین طرح یک جاده کمربند یا جاده‌های ابریشم یا اسمای جدیدی مختلفی که هست یا احیای جاده ابریشم رو مطرح می‌کنه. اگر در اروپا همه جاده‌ها به روم ختم شد، در این طرح چین همه جاده‌ها به پکن قرار است ختم بشود. جاده‌ای است که آخر ندارد، همش اول دارد، از پکن شروع می‌شود و همینجور در حال رفتن هست. از کشورهای مختلف با تئوری‌های مختلف در حال عبور هست. مرتب هم در بحث اقتصادی مطرح است، ولی همه می‌دانند که به هر حال هیچ بحث اقتصادی نمی‌تواند یک تفکرات سیاسی پشت سرش نباشد. روسیه در منطقه اوراسیا اتحادیه اوراسیا رو مطرح می‌کنه و در کنار اون تلاش بر این هست که بتواند در این منطقه جایگاه خودش را تعریف بکنه. البته همزمان بحث ارتباط با جنوب، استفاده از کریدور جنوب رو مطرح می‌کند و در این راستا در حال تبلیغ هست. هند بحث‌های مختلفی رو در ارتباط با چگونگی کار با همسایگان مطرح کرده، از بحث ساک تا موضوع اتحاد به اصطلاح داوطلبانه همسایگان تا بالاخره ارتباط خودش با کریدور شمال جنوب از طریق چابهار ایران و ارتباط به آسیای افغانستان و از درون آسیای افغانستان به آسیای مرکزی. پاکستان طرح سیپک رو مطرح کرده و ارتباطی که میتواند از طریق گذر از یک جاده از داخل پاکستان خودش رو به چین وصل بکند. این وضعیت حتی ژاپن طرح‌های جالبی دارد، کره جنوبی طرح دارد، اروپا طرح دارد. ولی چه خبر است؟ این همه طرح، همش هم طرح‌های اقتصادی، ولی واقعا کدام یک از این طرح‌های متنوع میتواند مشکلات ما رو در منطقه که خودمون میخوایم برای خودمون تعریف کنیم به اصطلاح حل بکنم. من به عنوان خودم رو یک افغانستانی اگر بدانم، من موقعی که در تاجیکستان سفیر بودم شعر میخوندم و گفتم من کیم تاجیک و تاجیک کیست من، ما دو روحیم اندر یک بدن. من حالا خودم رو افغانستانی میدونم، اونایی که به اصطلاح مطالب منو نوشتن میدونم که من اساسا فرق بین خودم به عنوان ایرانی با یه تاجیک و یه افغانستانی نمیدونم. خودم رو متعلق به این حوزه تمدنی میدونم. نکته‌ای که میخوام عرض بکنم اینه کدام طرح میتواند ما رو از این وضعیت بیرون بیاره. من فکر کنم طرحی که فقط خودمون بتوانیم برای خودمون تعریف کنیم، کس نخواهد پشت من جز ناخن انگشت. این بخش سوم و آخری مطلب من هست که من به عنوان کسی که سعی کردم بحث‌های نظری رو هم دنبال بکنم، به عنوان یه فردی که به هر حال به کشور افغانستان علاقه دارم، معتقدم که افغانستان سه تا مشکل اساسی داره: ثبات، امنیت، توسعه. از زمانی که حزب دموکراتیک خلق کودتا کرد، به هر حال اومد قدرت رو در دست گرفت، اون هم به دنبال حل این یکی از مسائل بود. به دنبال یک توسعه برای افغانستان تعریف میکرد از طریق به اصطلاح راه رشد غیر سرمایه‌داری، اونها اساساً به ثبات افغانستان و به امنیت افغانستان توجه نمی‌کرد. موقعی که نیروهای شوروی افغانستان رو تخلیه می‌کردن، در مذاکرات ژنو ناگهان همه چیز فراموش شد، فقط خروج نیروهای شوروی مطرح شد بدونی که اساساً به امنیت افغانستان، توسعه افغانستان، ثبات افغانستان فکر بکنن. نتیجهش ما دیدیم که افغانستان دچار یک تراکمی شد. طالبان با شعار برقراری امنیت اومد، ولی اساساً به توسعه توجه نکرد. امنیت رو میتونست برقرار کنه از طریق سرکوب، ولی به هیچ عنوان چون به توسعه توجه نکرد نمیتونست و توسعه رو امنیت رو هم فقط از طریق سرکوب به اصطلاح پیشبری می‌کنه. روند اون تنها روندی است که این سه مشکل رو سعی کرد یک همزمان نگاه بکنه. در روند اون ما نگاه می‌کنیم می‌بینیم که هم به بحث ثبات افغانستان توجه شده، هم به بحث امنیت افغانستان، هم به بحث توسعه افغانستان. ثبات افغانستان یک مسئله داخلی است. ثبات افغانستان باید از طریق نوعی هماهنگی بخش‌های مختلف سیاسی، قومی، فرهنگی حل می‌شود و اساساً ثبات یک مسئله داخلی است. ولی امنیت افغانستان من معتقدم امنیت منطقه‌ای است. امنیت افغانستان در منطقه تعریف می‌شود و اون منطقه همسایگان افغانستان است، نه منطقه‌های مرتب ساخته شده. صلح افغانستان قطعاً از درون همکاری‌های همسایگان عبور می‌کنه، از طریق همکاری‌های هماهنگی و توسعه افغانستان یک مسئله بین‌المللی است. قطعاً باید جامعه بین‌المللی مشارکت داشته باشد در توسعه افغانستان. در اون ابتدا به این سه موضوع توجه شد: یک دولت متعادل، یک همکاری منطقه‌ای، یک مشارکت جامعه جهانی در بازسازی افغانستان. اما متاسفانه به مرور در اون یک مسئله فراموش شد و اون این بود که نقش همسایگان مرتب کم و کمتر شد و ثبات افغانستان بیشتر رفت به سمت ثبات امنیتی نظامی و امنیت افغانستان از طریق صرفاً متکی بر همکاری‌های با ناتو یا حضور نیروهای ائتلاف و به نظر من مشکل از اینجا شروع شد و اینجا باید یک جایی رو ما باید تعریف بکنیم که به اصطلاح برگردونیم به اون جایی که بتوانیم این سه عنصر ثبات، امنیت، توسعه رو در یک چارچوب تعریف بکنیم. ثبات افغانستان مسئله 100% متعلق به داخل افغانستان از طریقی که به هر حال تعریف کردم و امنیت افغانستان صادقانه دارم عرض می‌کنم امنیت افغانستان از طریق نیروهای نظامی خارجی سالها هم باشد تامین شده نیست. امنیت افغانستان باید یک چارچوبی پیدا بکند، تعریفی پیدا بکند، در یک سلسله گفتگوهای منطقه‌ای راه حل خودش رو پیدا بکند. من صحبتم رو اینجا جمع می‌کنم در همین مطلبی که ما برای افغانستان در سه مفهوم ثبات، امنیت و توسعه این سه مفهوم رو در یک مجموعه کلان و همزمان باید دنبال کنیم. نمی شود ثبات باشد، امنیت نباشد، توسعه باشد، ثبات نباشد. این سه مفهوم رو باید نگاه بکنیم. من انشالله اگر کسانی علاقه‌مند باشن سر این موضوع کار تحقیقی بزرگی کردم که انشالله اون رو توضیح میدم. ما یه سمیناری هم یک ماه دیگه در ایران خواهیم در 2 ماه دیگه در ایران خواهیم داشت به عنوان افغانستان سرزمینی برای همکاری‌های منطقه‌ای که امیدوارم انشالله همه شما در اون شرکت کنید.
Tashakkur, Dr. Said. Now we're going to go to Dr. Stephen Tango, and he is a senior fellow at the Center for New-American Studies and also professor at American University. His focus of work and research has been on political and military affairs in South Asia, transnational threats, Islamist militancy, and U.S. foreign and defense policy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Adel Raz, for that kind introduction. I'd like to join my panelists and others in thanking Dr. Dawood Mardian and AISS for inviting me here, for putting on such a wonderful conference. Thank those in Bamiyan who have given us such a warm welcome, and of course it is an honor for me to be on such an august panel. I've been asked to do 4 things today. First is in terms of mapping out different visions and objectives for Afghanistan and for regional coordination and cooperation in Afghanistan to provide my sense of the U.S. perspective. I should note that this is my own personal assessment. I'm an academic. I'm not speaking on behalf of my government. Second is to talk about how I see the geopolitical competition here. And third, the ways in which that might be creating space for terrorism to flourish, or at least make it more difficult to combat terrorism. And then finally, we're going to talk about how we might move towards more security and stability. I should note that while I'll be talking primarily about external actors, that it's impossible to ignore the importance of the internal dynamics here, especially in terms of governance, economics, anti-corruption, promotion of rule of law, and things of this nature. So my remarks are not to give those other elements short shrift, they're simply to respond to what I was asked to speak to here today. The United States, I think, like all of the countries that are represented here, wants to see a stable Afghanistan that is at peace with its neighbors. The issue is that many of the countries in the region have defined the context of stability in Afghanistan differently and the modalities for reaching it differently. And I would submit that there's debate, I think, even within countries about the best way to get to this outcome. There certainly is in the United States. I think we've already heard from Ms. Gohar that there is in Pakistan as well. From a U.S. perspective, this obviously starts with the counterterrorism objective, which is that there should be no safe havens for international terrorism in Afghanistan. And there are debates even here. Does this simply mean that groups like Al-Qaeda and Daesh are defeated? Is that enough? Or must we go further to ensure that they cannot return? I would argue that you don't necessarily need a stable Afghanistan simply to defeat Al-Qaeda and Daesh. It's much more important to have a stable Afghanistan if you want to make sure that groups like that cannot return. A second piece of this goes to the role of the Taliban and the role that the Taliban might play following any settlement. Questions about whether the Taliban could be trusted if they were integrated into society and into government, if that were to occur. The degree to which the Taliban wants to remain as a platform for international terrorism, or is more of a nationalist movement that is not going to be beholden, as it was in the 1990s, to some of these actors. And even then, it's important to note that there were, as many familiar with the history will know, considerable debates within the Taliban about the wiseness of continuing to host transnational actors like Al-Qaeda. Beyond terrorism, there are concerns about growing instability in Afghanistan if there were a precipitous US and NATO withdrawal, and/or if other reforms are not reached, some of those that I mentioned in governance and economics, etc., in terms of refugee flows that could be destabilizing not only regionally but internationally. And then, from a U.S. perspective, I would note two other issues as well. The first is that Afghanistan has become a very important partner to the United States, and there is an interest in continuing to maintain and to develop that relationship, to see Afghanistan as a key partner in the region. Of course, there are ongoing discussions about the cost to the United States of continuing to develop that relationship. But I think there is widespread recognition that Afghanistan has become an important partner, as signified, for example, by the conference of major non-NATO ally status. And then, of course, what does all of this mean for U.S. basing in the region? I know that that's an issue that comes up, whether the United States wants to maintain bases here indefinitely, and everything else is just a cover for that. My own perspective is this, is that much of the U.S. military presence in the region will be subject to the counterterrorism mission in the region and to many of those other factors that I've already mentioned. Which isn't to say that the United States is looking to immediately leave, but it's also not saying that the United States is looking to maintain basing here indefinitely, no matter what the conditions are on the ground. I should also add, and here I am in agreement, I think we are in agreement with my running colleague, that from my perspective, the U.S. and NATO military presence here is a means to an end in terms of providing some of the security and the space necessary to get to the type of settlement that would enable Afghanistan to flourish and to create time and space for economic development, governance, etc. But there's also a recognition of the fact that that ongoing presence can create challenges in terms of Afghan self-sufficiency. Turning to the geopolitical competition, it's been well covered, so I don't need to elaborate too much on it, but suffice it to say, Pakistan, for better or worse, remains a critical actor for the future of Afghanistan. There's been ample discussion about Pakistan's role in supporting elements that are destabilizing Afghanistan. What I want to touch on briefly here is the debates from a U.S. perspective in terms of how to deal with that. Right now, for those who are following in the media, you will see that there is, I think, an increasing inclination to be tougher on Pakistan. But questions remain about what can be reasonably accomplished through coercion. Can Pakistan be forced to break with its support for the Taliban and Haqqanis? Is a simple reduction in support enough? Should the ambition be to get Pakistan to bring the Taliban and Haqqanis to the negotiating table, or simply not to stand in the way? These are issues that are still being worked out, but I think are absolutely critical to keep in mind of when we talk about the geopolitical objectives in Afghanistan. There's also a recognition of growing influence of Russian, China, and Iran. The challenges that poses, I think, for stability here in Afghanistan. Also for the United States, some challenges, but some opportunities as well. I can tell you that the United States has been looking for China to play a bigger role for some time now, in terms of helping to stabilize Afghanistan, in terms of carrying some of the burden from a security perspective, and also in terms of helping to move towards a settlement. But of course, the United States wants to maintain its involvement in that process and work with China. So there is a balance there. Russia and Iran is more complicated. I think we recognize that some of the outreach to the Taliban is driven by Russian and Iranian concerns about Daesh, but there are questions about the degree to which all of the outreach is taking place within that counterterrorism rubric. And here, I think it's important to point out when we talk about the Taliban, and especially when we talk about Daesh, we tend to talk a lot about the shared threat, as though that should make it easy for all of us to come together. But experience bears out, and having just spent several years conducting research on U.S. counterterrorism with partners across Middle East, Africa, and South Asia, I can tell you that it's not enough to simply share a threat. It's very often where countries rank that threat relative to other threats and how we perceive that threat. So yes, we can all share a threat from Daesh, but we might perceive that threat differently. We might rank that threat relative to other threats differently, and we might go about dealing with that threat differently. And so while that sometimes creates opportunities, it can also create challenges. And this, of course, can also create space for terrorism to flourish, or at least make it more difficult to combat. Potential new sources of money and weapons for the Taliban, on the one hand, holds out the potential for further fragmenting the Taliban. On the other hand, gives it opportunities to take advantage of other patrons. It raises questions about Pakistani influence and control, although I would submit as long as leaders remain in Pakistan, Pakistan will remain a key player with regard to the Taliban. More players, of course, also means more opportunities for engagement, which can be a good thing, but also more opportunities for spoilers, not such a good thing. And then, again, we get debates over how to deal with the Taliban from different players, and the degree to which we should deal with the Taliban directly, as Ms. Gohar pointed out, versus dealing with Pakistan or other actors. So what does that mean in terms of moving towards stability here in Afghanistan? And I would wrap up with just a couple of comments, and of course I wish I had a perfect solution, but I do not. One, I want to come back to where I started with my caveat that although we're talking about external actors here, so much of what is critical is going to take place inside Afghanistan in terms of governance, economic development, rule of law, things of this nature. In terms of external actors, more information sharing, especially with regard to some of those actors where we should have agreement, like Daesh, I think is important. Countries like the United States and China, I think, are best disposed to play the role of provide verification mechanisms for cooperation between other actors like Afghanistan and Pakistan. But even there, we are going to be limited. I'm somewhat skeptical from my own perspective, but I'm willing to be challenged on this, of the UCG as a mechanism for engaging the Taliban. But to the degree to which it can provide an opportunity for Afghanistan and Pakistan to engage one another with the United States and China sort of playing a secondary role, I think that could be beneficial. And economic integration, the types of dialogues and exchanges that take place here are absolutely critical. And so, you know, more of these types of engagements. I'd like to think that the panels are helpful, but as with many conferences, a lot of the real benefits will take place from the opportunities for all of us to engage with one another, build ties, build connections, so that we can, if not get to agreement on our threat perceptions, at least understand one another's perceptions better. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And now we have Dr. Ron Zhang. He is the Vice President and Senior Research Fellow at China's Institute of International Studies. And he is also the Editor-in-Chief of the CIA's journal, China International Studies, and member of the UNDP Human Development Advisory Panel. We're glad to have him. Looking forward to this presentation.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much. Thank you, moderator. Thank you for your kind introduction. And it's my great honor to be here. So first I'd like to thank my gratitude to the organizer, Afghanistan Institute of Strategic Studies, for your very kind invitation. Made my trip to Afghanistan possible. Right here in Afghanistan, right here at Bamyan, it's a very historical moment for me, indeed. Let me tell you a story. My first time hear about Bamyan actually is from a Chinese monk. He's extremely popular in China. He was living 1,000 years, 300 years ago. 1,300 years ago. He was traveling to India and he made a stop here. And in his book, later on he wrote a book about what he has said, what is the story. He said the people here are extremely friendly and he particularly impressed by the rich culture. And he even mentioned about the two gigantic Buddha statues. So that made Bamyan exceptionally popular in China because of his story. So I think, so Bamyan is something I know long time ago, but actually today I'm here, so I'm so happy and excited. And I think this event is extremely important and timely to talk about the cooperation of Afghanistan, Central Asia, and many other stakeholders, cooperation on fighting terrorism and other issues. What I'm going to do in my presentation, I'll just highlight 3 observations. Hopefully they can be a modest contribution to our discussion. Actually, the first observation, I like to put Central Asia in a global context. So the first question is, what has happened in the world? As a matter of fact, 27 years ago, there was a very popular narrative named the end of the history. Because of the collapse of the Soviet Union, because of the demise of the Cold War. So people in the West, they were celebrating. Now, I think, hopefully you will agree with me, the end of history comes to an end. Instead, more and more people are talking about post-West, post-order, and post-truth. This is not my narrative. Actually, I borrowed this phrase from the organizer of Munich Security Conference organizer. Last February, they published a report entitled Post-Truth, Post-West, Post-Order. So my question also you is, try to imagine what the world will be look like in 27 years in the future. Just think hard and think ahead. I think it will be fair to say China will surely become the #1 economy in the world at that time. And Asia will be the most important magnet gravity of the world economy. I think these two things were surely going to happen. Of course, I'm not here to say 100% because this world sometimes becomes so unpredictable or uncertainty, but there's very likely we will see that. And then my second observation is about how about Central Asia, or how about this region. I think Central Asia, in the morning, there is, as previous speaker mentioned about, Central Asia is not center of Asia. This point is quite interesting. And I think the history of the world we have witnessed what has happened for Central Asia for years. In the past, Central Asia has been integrating itself, and after the end of the Cold War, we have seen the disintegration of Central Asia. But now, I think it's a time for Central Asia to reintegrate itself, giving the two very important backgrounds. The first one is globalization is unstoppable. No matter how some people question about the future scenario, but I don't think that globalization will stop in the foreseeable future. As a matter of fact, it will exhibit. The second phenomenon is the connectivity. Connectivity is something not in the future. It is something happening now. And this connectivity plus the globalization, regionalization will really transform the Central Asia, of course, beyond. And it's also the point, and the previous speaker, I think was mentioned about, because of the globalization, geographical proximity or geography will become less and less important in that sense. Therefore, that leads to my third observation. What was China going to do? What's China's role here? I think for Central Asia and for the world at large, even for China, we confront two very severe challenges. One is stability, the other is development. These two intertwine with each other. Without stability, there will be no development to speak of. Similarly, development is absolutely necessary to counter any rise of destabilizing factors. So China actually is going to do two things. The first one, try to promote the stability and the security in the region. Very recently, I just mentioned in June, last month, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi made a very important visit here in Kabul, in Afghanistan, and also in Pakistan. He tried to extend a helping hand with China's two great neighbors, Afghanistan and Pakistan. So this to establish a kind of trilateral working group. They agreed to create a trilateral foreign minister dialogue mechanism. And China is doing its best, we hope, can facilitate, can promote an understanding and enhance the trust between Afghanistan and Pakistan. So this is something I think we are doing, and of course, having been created this trilateral cooperation mechanism does not mean we will rule out other kind of a mechanism. As a matter of fact, this serves as a very useful complementary effort. Second is the development. China initially made the proposal of Belt and Road Initiative. And this initiative is very much focused on creating more opportunities for development, for economic growth. And if we look at the map, on one hand, on the East Asia, east part of Asia, East Asia has been the most dynamic economy in the world in the last 20 years or so. And it will remain to be the most dynamic, most important East Asia to Europe by various kind of, for example, building infrastructures and the China and Europe express train or whatsoever. So I think all these efforts is trying to link the two circles with each other. Then they will mobilize and create more opportunity for Central Asia and for South Asia as well. And so finally, to conclude, of course, how to make sure that we can have both stability and development. And of course, at this moment, terrorism poses a great threat to the region, not only to Afghanistan, Pakistan, but also for China as well. So in order to fight effectively the terrorism, I think we should avoid a kind of double standard. That's very important. We should make a concerted effort. Terrorism is terrorism. And so China is ready to work with Afghanistan and the stakeholder and many other countries in order to make Central Asia, Asia, and the world as peaceful, as prosperous as possible. Thank you.
Thanks to our panelists, and we did hear a very interesting and various perspectives on difficult and complex issues, of course. And we talked about the role of Pakistan and Afghanistan, especially in terms of security and as well as peace development. At the same time, we also talked about the integration of Central Asia, and we can add that the integration of Central Asia to South Asia, that's also critical, the role that Afghanistan can play. We also talked about the geopolitical and geoeconomic challenges of our time. We also talked about the trust deficit that exists between Afghanistan and Pakistan. We also talked about the role of China, especially in its role in terms of economic integration in the region. And we also heard about how we can measure the level of trust, not only as a shared threat, but how important and prioritized it could be to certain countries. So with that, we will open the floor to questions. I think we can take questions in Farsi and as well as in English. Okay, we'll start with Dr. Said and then followed by Dr. Said.
Thank you very much, Generals, and thank you for panelists. I want to ask a question from my sister, Bushra. Thank you for your presentation. Thank you for the feeling that you and the steps that you are taking for peace. You have been taking some steps, the people-to-people initiative, which is I appreciate. And you have been taking some steps to come to Afghanistan, and also our people who went to Pakistan. This is the first, and the second one was from parliamentarian came to Afghanistan, which is very good. I want to ask you that what will be the next step for that, and also what the both government, both state should take.
و کدام راهکار مؤثرترین راهکار در زودهنگام و چی میکنه در میان مدت و دراز مدت کارایی خود خواهد داشت.
If it's possible, I prefer to ask my question by my mother language. سوال اول ما از بانو بشرا نامد ما پیمان رئیس حکومت جلال در افغانستان بارها پاکستان سفر کردم و اول اتاق افغان چند سند ساختیم که همراه پشتونخوا و سال 2005 بعد از او یه ریکشا دادیم رفتیم به طرف اتاق افغان پاک که کراچی چنبرم شد و چنان از پنجاب و از سند و از در مجموع از بلوچستان ما با نشستهایی که شاید 100 مرتبه دید و وادی داشته باشیم به بروز مشترک سکتور خصوصی افغانستان و سکتور خصوصی پاکستان و درستی دریافتیم که رشد اقتصادی ما در همکاری ماست و اونا باید یک لابی قوی با حکومت پاکستان در مذاکره بودن. بارها ما همراه رهبر پاکستان و همچنان اتاق مشترک ما با رهبر افغانستان دید و وادی کردیم. نتیجه این بود که ما باید از حداقل از لحاظ سیاسی نمیتونیم اجتماعی جدایی بکنیم، از لحاظ اقتصادی هم دیگر تسهیل میکنیم تا دوادهای ما جای کار ایجاد شود، تجارت رونق پیدا کنه و بالاخره فقر از بین برن. چون یک عامل تشنج هم در پاکستان هم در افغانستان فقر است. اما تلاش‌های 15 سالی ما به نتیجه نرسید. وابسته به سکتور خصوصی پاکستان همین عقیده دارم. بدبختانه در سال مالی گذشته $1 میلیارد حجم صادرات پاکستان کم شده. و درها فابریکه پاکستانی که برای بازار افغانستان و از طریق افغانستان به آسیای مرکزی تولید میکرد کلش متوقف است. شما حدود 300,000 کارگر خود که در افغانستان تولید میکردن تقریبا بیکار شد. دریافت ما از در پاکستان دو حکومت است. یک حکومت که ملکی است که با ما موافقه میکنن، یک حکومت پنهانی دیگه اونجا وجود داره که مانع همه تشنج جدایی و ایجاد یک رابطه خوب میشه. ترجیح ما این است که ما همکاری منطقوی خوب داشتیم ولی از طرف ما هیچ وقت مانع حق نشدن. تمام موتر پاکستان میتونن تا آخرین سرحد افغانستان بر عبور کنن ولی شما خلاف پرینسیپ‌ها شما به منظور نیست. منظور من مشخص است، مشخص که می‌ذارم. همین است که موتر از ما میتونن که تا به آخرین نقطه افغانستان بیاید ولی ما مال خودم وقتی که برداری هندوستان میبریم از اون طرف ما را پس آورده نمیدن. تا کراچی رفتن موتر ما رفتن نمیدن مال خود پس آورده نمیدن. آیا واقعا تو حکومت داریم؟ یک سوال دیگه از جناب سفیر صاحب میشه. میگه بی‌بضاعتان بیدل ناگزیر آفاتند. رنج خلق از بردن از برهنه‌پایی هاست. ما در موقعیتی نیستیم که منطقه را ما تعریف کنیم. ما در موقعیت جهانی قرار نداریم که سرنوشت ملت‌ها را تعیین کنیم، حتی سرنوشت خودم. و این خاطر با همین میگن اختیار جلب شناخته شده است. در این حدود اختیاری که فعلا داریم ما شما چی طرح میکنیم برای بیزیستی بیدن و برای همکاری بیشتر؟ تشکر میکنم.
I think we're going to take one last question from Dr. Osalama and then we're going to start answering. Sure.
I just have a very quick observation and then a question. I'm really fascinated by this panel, particularly because when I look at the stage, I look at all countries that are playing a key role in not stability in Afghanistan, but stability of the region. So if dialogue is the way forward, this is a good beginning and I really appreciate it. The title of your panel was talking about the rule of the game. So we've learned a little bit throughout your discussions and panelists about the game. But what I observed is that are we all on the same page in terms of the rules? Because if a game is a single game, it should have a rule that everyone should follow. Are we all following that rule or not? Because I think that's the key for moving forward in terms of knowing what it is. And particularly coming specifically to counter-terrorism, as it is called, is there an agreement or is there a possibility of a consensus or agreement across countries from immediate neighbors of Afghanistan to broader region on what is terrorism and how it can be fought, and who should be the first or the main sort of lead on that. In the past, it was the United States. Is there a possibility to change that and hand that over to a regional power, or is it still the case that it should be US?
So we're going to start answering. Start with the first hand.
Listen to Professor Musali. You know that many militants are returning from Syria via Iraq. What is done in this field? How to protect or stop this movement? The main road is very easy to that.
Thank you. In fact, I would like to thank Rosia Jan for pointing out how important it is to have women in all the panels, and in fact, women leading the peace process. I personally feel that it's not just bringing them to the table, but actually leading, and for that we would have to define the peace table. So I'm glad that you pointed it out, and I think the organizers of such conferences need to make sure that there's more of it. Dr. Sarami, it was a very important visit of the parliamentarians and a very high-level parliamentary delegation that came to Afghanistan a few months back. And that gave a hope that maybe, you know, the tensions that exist would settle then. It needs to be reciprocated also, and we've had several meetings, and I feel that ultimately it is the elected representatives who have to take greater role, and we can't just blame each other, but we need to be playing our role wherever we can. So hopefully that process can continue. I don't know why, but I also feel that political leadership, and you named one, our political party has always led the peace process. We can play a critical role in forming that bridge between Islamabad and Kabul. And I think that it has to ultimately be, the role has to be played by the political leaders in Pakistan and Afghanistan. Afghanistan has moved on, and to say that Afghanistan does not, is only controlled by outside forces is wrong. Afghanistan has moved on. And so the Afghan elected representatives will also have to play a proactive role. The blame game hasn't really helped anybody, and now nobody really pays a lot of attention. But when there is a unilateral action taken, like on the border crossings, or internally in Pakistan, we've questioned it. And I think that that is a step forward, where we are openly questioning some of these policies. And I think that that should show that the political leadership in Pakistan at least is there. But I'm not saying that our challenges are over, or that we, I mean, this whole questioning process is important, in my opinion. We've done it in the parliament, we're doing it outside as well, but it will need a lot of effort from the political leaders in both the countries. And we need to take away, peace is too important, development is too important, I think, to be left to the generals. So we will go to the bureaucrats. I'm saying that the bureaucrats tend to create so many hurdles that we can't leave it to the military or civil bureaucracy. We will have to take charge. The people's representatives will have to. The Chamber of Commerce issue that has been there for such a long time. And when I was in Parliament also, in many of our meetings we were discussing it. And I personally feel that we need to be, now with the CPEC coming, we cannot have this controlled environment. And so please keep working on it with all the, you know, the commerce, chambers of commerce. In fact, the Pukhtunkhwa chambers of commerce is quite active also. We need to be working on it and building pressure. So don't give up, but I feel that the challenges are quite big, and we're trying to overcome them.
And there was one specific question, if there are two governments.
Yes, that's what I'm saying, that the challenges are there.
سه سوال و یک چهارم سوال از ما شد برن که یه سوال رو از 4 تا پنلیست کردن، من یک چهارمش مربوط به من میشه و سه سوال دیگهش یه سوالی که آقای بولکوف مطرح کردن که با این جنگی که در سوریه است و از سوریه تروریستان و افغانستان ایران چهار ما بکنیم کاملا تروریستان زمینی نمیان که ایران جلوشون رو بگیره، اینا هوایی میان. همونجور که هوایی رفتن، هوایی از آسیای مرکزی رفتن مسکو، از مسکو رفتن استانبول، از اونجا رفتن سوریه. برعکسش هم وقتی میان استانبول، از استانبول میان کشورهای عربی هوایی منتقل میشن اینجا. اگه زمینی بیان حتما ما جلوشون رو میگیریم. یکی از دلایلی هم که این همه به ما انتقاد میکنن چه وقتی سوریه اینا رفتن اونجا جلوشون رو بگیریم که اینوری نیاد. و ما کمک بکنیم جلوشون رو بگیریم. سوال دیگه که مطرح شد که از 2 تا سوال رو یکی میکنم که شما 2 نفر رو کمتر وقت بگیرم. من اصلا معتقد به ریل پالیتیک نیستم. من جزء ایدالیست ها هستم و این ریل پالیتیک رو قبول ندارم. من درد اساسی مشکل هستم. من معتقدم که همون ما باید به فرهنگ و تمدن خودمون مراجعه بکنیم. به قول معروف سالها دل طلب جام جم از ما کرد، آنچه خود داشت سویگانه طلب کرد. ما امنیت رو در درون خودمون جستجو نمی‌کنیم، ثبات رو در درون خودمون جستجو نمی‌کنیم، خودمون رو ضعیف می‌بینیم. من اصلا قبول ندارم. خیلی سخته، میفهمم، یعنی اینو من درک میکنم، واقعیت‌ها رو دیدن، ولی همزمان واقعیت‌ها رو به گونه‌ای دیگر به تصویر کشیدن سخته و من معتقدم این کار سخت رو باید انجام بدیم. واقعیت مطلب این هست که اونچه که در منطقه ما می‌گذرد بیش از آنچه که خیلی از جانب دیگران به ما برسد بیشتر دچار ما دردسر است. ما اگر تاریخ افغانستان رو نگاه بکنیم در مقطعی که در افغانستان یک دولت متمرکزی که توانسته بود افغانستان رو باثبات بکند از طریق همکاری‌های درونی خودش و با همسایگان سیاستی بر یک اساس متعادل داشت، موفق بود. ما این تجربه رو داریم. نمیخوام مقطع مشخصی رو نام ببرم، ولی افغانستان تجربه موفقی داشته است و ما میتوانیم اون تجربه موفق رو به دست بیاریم. اعتقاد من اینه که یک افغانستانی که در درون خودش به ثبات برسه و افغانستان رو تبدیل نکنه به سرزمینی برای رقابت دیگران. دوستانه عرض میکنم بخش عمده از برادران افغانستانی ما دیگران رو به کار میگیرن علیه دیگران. من معتقدم باید این اپروچ، این نگاه عوض بشود. این نگاه اگر عوض شد افغانستان فقط حتی برای خودش فکر بکنه قطعا به نفع همسایگانش کار کرده. اگر افغانستان فقط بگیم من برای افغانستان کار میکنم قطعا به نفع همسایگان خودش کار کرده. و من معتقدم که همسایگان افغانستان اگر به این جنبندی برسن که تهدیدی از درون افغانستان به سمتشون نمیاد قطعا وضعیت باثباتی خواهد داشت. حالا این تهدید همه از صبح تا اینجا صحبت کردن. تروریسم تهدیدی است که یک پشت سری دارد. تروریسم یک عامل هست، دیگران هستند. دوست همکار من هم از امریکا مبارزه ضد تروریسم رو مطرح میکنه. واقعا من هم بحث ضد تروریسم رو مطرحم، همه رو داریم مطرح میکنیم. اون در تعریفی از تروریسم داریم متفاوته. همه شما شاهد هستید که
در زمانی که بحث طالبان مطرح بود بهترین همکاری برای تغییر وضعیت موجود پیش اومد. همکاری ایران و آمریکا همه به ما نقد کردند، ولی به محض اینکه امریکا احساس پیروزی کرد آقای بوش اومد ایران رو جزو بهتر شرارت نامیش. خب کار خراب شد. الانش هم بحث مبارزه با تروریسمه، ولی وقتی میگن تروریسم از بندن چهره تروریستی میزنن. تروریست رو باید یه تعریف درست حسابی بکنیم، واقعا با تروریسم همه حاضریم مبارزه بکنیم. ولی متاسفانه اینجا مشکل اینه که تروریسم خوب داریم و تروریسم بد داریم و این تا زمانی که تروریسم خوب و تروریسم بد داریم مشکل پابرجا خواهد بود. امیدواریم که افغانستان به ما کمک کنه که هرچی تروریسم بد رو داریم بتونیم از بینش ببریم و تروریسم خوب رو از قاموس و فرهنگ ادبیات خودمون حذفش بکنیم، برای که تروریسم خوب وجود نداره.
I teach my students is we're not going to spend the semester trying to define this because there's no agreed definition. There's a scholar famously wrote terrorism is what the bad guys did. And now that said, I'm in firm agreement that there should not be this idea of good terrorists and bad terrorists. I actually think it's more complicated than that. And I think that we can look at different relationships that countries have with the various terrorist and militant groups that are operating in this area. There are collaborative relationships between Pakistan and the Taliban and the Afghan Institute. That is a collaborative relationship. There is support and there is enabling. There are belligerent relationships. Afghanistan, the United States, I think, have belligerent relationships with the Taliban and the Afghan. They're fighting against them. And then, quite frankly, I think there are more confused relationships. There's an expression, I don't know how well it translates, but a friend and an enemy is in front of me. And I think to a degree, for Russia and China in particular, Russia and Iran, they look at the Taliban, there's competition, there's potential for cooperation, vis-a-vis their concerns regarding Daesh and others. That's a very complicated relationship. Can we all do a better job of understanding those relationships and the compulsions behind them? Yes. And can we ever entirely bridge those divides? No, because to me this isn't just about people who are using violence. This is political violence. The people who are engaging with the Taliban, who are engaging with Daesh, who are engaging with these different actors, are doing so for political reasons. And the truth is that whether or not one believes in real politics, different countries, although we all, I think, can talk about wanting a peaceful and stable Afghanistan, as I said at the beginning, we have different conceptions of what that looks like. We have different modalities for reaching it. We have different interests here, and they sometimes clash. So, I'm sorry, I want to give you a more optimistic answer, but that's, I think, an honest answer. That doesn't negate the importance of continuing to have dialogue, to have engagement, to look for mechanisms to do information sharing, to reduce mistrust, to narrow that trust gap. All of that is absolutely critical. I guess my point is that it should be about shrinking space and optimizing, getting the best we can out of cooperation among all of us, rather than aiming for the perfect where we're all going to be entirely on the same page.
And
there was no question to it, but I'd like to just rephrase it. About Pakistan, by the way. Well, I'm also wondering why people, even experts, raise the question about this role of Pakistan. Because what you want, if this country was involved in, was a forefront of civil war about several decades. It's output, regular output, normal output of this involvement. Besides this, Pakistan was not against Pakistan, was the main source of religious extremism in the 20s and the early 20th century. Afghanistan at the time was a very liberal country, by the way. This is very nature of output. And as for Russia-China cooperation, it was very hard way, very difficult to deal with. last year there was a conference in Delhi, and I witnessed when Chinese special representative is retired diplomat now. It changed very energetically, very friendly with the Americans. They were brothers in arms actually, yeah. And because of this, I think it's very great and very motivated start of preparation in Afghan question with China and Russia. It was very difficult to reach.
Well, just a final thought, since there's no particular question addressed to me. To be very honest, I don't like the narrative of great game. It suggests something zero-sum competition. As a matter of fact, throughout the whole day discussing my conclusion, everybody agreed that we should mobilize all the positive efforts to cooperate for the future stability and prosperity. So I'd like to suggest that maybe we will use the phrase great cooperation. It is actually the time for great cooperation for all-way scenario. Thank you very much.
And I think because our time is shortened, we cannot take more answers. So just concluding with Dr. Ursula's question with the rule of game, and then there are, not really, it's not defined yet. But of course, I think also seconding my colleague from China that it is the time to cooperate, and also welcoming more of such platforms so we can sit together and really build up the consensus that we need to have. And look forward to the remaining of the conference, and thank you everyone for listening to us. Thanks.
Thank you.